You spent countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him. And his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
Just doing some reading. Hello, Sky. How are you?
Oh, just reading my Baby Shark. It's a great book. How are you doing?
Have you played the Baby Shark song for your kids yet?
Aaron, it's the song of a generation. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen internet videos of, like when they play Lion King at spring break for a bunch of millennials and they go nuts. You're going to be playing Baby Shark in like 10 years, and whatever club or party you're at, it's just going to freak out.
Listen, I have older kids, so we were the Wonder Pets. If anybody has older kids on here, you remember the Wonder Pets, and they used to make the little animals that sang the song, and everyone thought that was a great gift. And none of those people are my friends anymore. Just kidding. How are you? I haven't seen you since Friday. We had a good time Friday.
I don't look up anything. I'm going to look that up. People are like, hey, you should read that book. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Like, they're always like, hey, I'm going to send you over some information. I want a video that I want you to click through to learn about my company. I'm like, honestly, I'm just not going to do that. But the Wonder Pets.
It was a TV show, and they went, the Wonder Pets, the Wonder Pets. I'm not going to do it. It's not going to do anybody favors if I sing, hey, can we talk about Friday and what a good time we had and how many people we saw that have been on the show or that are going to come on the show? Some amazing leaders out of the golf course. Yeah,
so Matt Ambrose puts on a tournament in honor of his father, and then they fund families directly that are going through medical issues, typically pediatric cancer, and so that money goes directly towards their bills. And so the secret to virtual networking or in-person connecting is an ROI on your time. And so where do you spend the least amount of time to get the biggest bang for your buck? And a little secret, there's a tournament that the Ambrose family puts on that has well over, I would say, 60 plus entrepreneurs of people that own companies and really large organizations. So it's very affordable. We have a little bit of fun. Maybe 10 hours of too much fun, but you train for it and you hydrate and you exercise and you get after it.
And we brought Jello shots. So we were
over 350, 400. As the day went on, we're like, we've done 400 Jello shots. 400
Jello shots. I saw some Jello shots in my fridge. I came home with Jello shots, and today was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm on a break. Hey.
So speaking of that, we should have had Bank of Blue Valley with all these good logos be there at our hole with our good friend Felicia. And I apologize to Felicia. She's giving us some swag to wear, but it's hot outside.
It is hot outside.
Those pullovers are even warm inside.
I'm excited. Look, I want to see you all here. Hi, Joel. Thanks for always jumping on here. How are you?
Great new picture.
I know it is a new picture. Look, that's how much we know. That's how much we network with Joel. Is we recognize his picture. We've got Toby here. He said Jello shots will always attract.
She would have been there.
Toby, you should have been there. Here is the thing. Let us know if you're watching, and if you're watching on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. We have a fabulous panel today. Bank of Blue Valley. We were just kind of chatting about it. We do work with Felicia over there, and I've worked with Lori on my home equity loan when we're talking about this pool. So they've got some amazing people. We've actually got a guest coming on that works at Bank of Blue Valley here in a couple weeks.
Absolutely. The interesting thing, someone was like, why Bank of Blue Valley? And I was like, well, traditionally, they've been a really well-known suburban bank, but yet they do business all throughout the city and all throughout the country. And this show brings together people from all different businesses and industry and shows what Bank of Blue Valley does every day in terms of whether it's lending on real estate or doing a home line equity own to help someone build a pool. So you just never know.
And today, one of our guests, I'm going to let him tell the story, but one of his first interactions in his career was with somebody at Bank of Blue Valley. So we got a couple more intros here. Zeke says, let's go. Hey, Zeke.
Zeke show's starting back up.
Oh, is it? You know, I saw a cool picture with like, he had, you know, he's cool. So he had like the neon light behind him in his picture and stuff. It looks pretty cool.
He's amazing.
And then here's I'm going to toot a little horn here. This is Madison. Now let me tell the story of Madison. Madison is our newest addition at Lily and James Creative. Hi, Madison. And we actually found Madison because her stepfather, Jeff Palacios, was on our show. And that is how Madison got to us. So super exciting to have Madison here. So go connect with Madison. She is learning and trying to meet lots of people in Kansas City. All right, let's get to this panel. Nobody cares about us. Let's get to the panel. What do you think? I got some good music today. Are you ready?
You don't want no Baby Shark?
Absolutely not.
Okay, all right, let's go.
All right, here we go.
Want to go for a ride?
Yeah.
All right. Our first guest today is Sarah. Our next guest today, I thought it was going to be more exciting. It's more exciting for me. Words, sorry. Is Kenzi. Third guest today, he might have a story. Is Scott. And last but certainly not least, my newest LinkedIn connection is Nathan. I don't know why I felt like you guys were a Let's Go Barbie type of crew, but I really absolutely did. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you. All right, let's jump into it. Sarah, who are you? What do you do? How do you get to Kansas City?
Hi, well, thanks for having me. My name is Sarah Hayes. I'm the owner of Financial Life Bookkeeping and Solutions. We provide bookkeeping solutions to small business owners to help them simplify their financial life.
So what does an ideal client look like? But before you answer that, you got to go how you got to Kansas City. Did you move here? Did you grow up here? Did you just stumble into your career today? Or what led you to running your own company?
Yeah, so I'm actually originally from St. Louis, and I've been in Kansas City for about 5 years now. And my husband's job actually took us on the other side of the state. So that was a crazy and wild time. I was pregnant with my second kiddo. We moved when I was 9 months pregnant. So it was a lot going on. And I was working remotely for my company. I was in financial planning for about 11 years. And, life sort of changed when all of a sudden you go from one kiddo to two and priorities shift a little bit. So I knew I needed some more flexibility with my career, and I wanted a short commute and a certain salary and all these things. And I quickly realized that job doesn't exist, so I'll have to create it. So that's what I did. Always had a finance background, and I've been doing this for about 2 years now. And it was sort of, I had the intention of wanting to have a fully remote virtual cloud-based business because I needed the flexibility, and it ended up being sort of the perfect COVID business because all of my clients were used to Zoom. So there was no, transition of here's the Zoom link, here's how we do it. We've done it, since the beginning. So that was really pretty seamless for me.
So interesting. My business partner and I, we work with a lot of working moms. It's just kind of our business. And no one wanted to go to a meeting anyway.
No.
Why can't you just get it done in a 20, 30-minute conversation? So were your clients kind of thrilled in a lot of ways? Like, oh, I'm not doing anything different.
Yeah. I mean, it was so great. And, I think so many people this last year and a half experiencing virtual remote work that previously were in an office and commuting, life is a lot less stressful when, a lot less full of stress when you're not commuting and rushing in rush hour traffic and picking up kids from daycare. So it just made sense. And, I think this whole pandemic has been very interesting just from a business perspective of how many businesses realize they don't actually need this huge office and all this office space. And you can be really efficient and productive from home and having remote employees. So it's, one of the, good things of the pandemic is just learning to see, seeing different businesses shift their model, really.
And then how old are your children today?
My youngest is 2. So I have a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old. Yeah.
Man, way to be a genius and shift your business right before the pandemic.
Yeah, it kind of worked out without, really trying, but it's been a blessing for sure.
When's the first day of school?
Next Wednesday, counting down the hours. Yeah, we're later for some reason. A lot of schools started this week, so.
No, actually mine went back last Thursday and it's been 18 months. And then Friday I was really sad because I missed them. I was like, wait a minute, I'm trying to remember.
We even tried, we did homeschooling for like a semester last year, just because, you know, we weren't sure with all the stuff going on. And it was my one and only homeschooling semester. So we were happy to be back in January and looking forward to next week.
She's like, counting down the hours.
A lot of people had to fire themselves during the pandemic.
Yeah. Not my strong suit there. Definitely not a teacher.
No, but doesn't it? We're not gonna talk about this too much more, but I'm saying this year I'm being so much kinder to the teachers, right? I'm like, sorry, I underestimated how hard your job was. Like,
oh my gosh, hardest job ever. I have so much respect for teachers. God love them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us today, Sarah. We can't wait to learn more. Kenzi, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Kinsey Hoyle. I am the Partnership Development Manager at Visit KC. For those of you not familiar with Visit KC, we're the tourism and marketing department for Kansas City. So you can imagine we are just so excited to talk about all things Kansas City every single day to everyone, from a convention meeting planner to a leisure traveler. My job specifically is really just to be the connector between local businesses and our tourism market. So I am working day to day with local businesses to help market their business to that market specifically. And then I also started a little passion project during COVID, which has kept me kind of busy. I don't know how many of you have been, baking and learning new recipes in your kitchen, but I took that passion and started a little project called Nosh Baking. And so I host little bake sales throughout the city and then give back to local nonprofits. And so that was my way of, one, getting out of my house because I was going insane. And then also helping those nonprofits that were faced with a hard time because they weren't able to fundraise through their galas and things like that. I'm certainly not raising money to offset that cost, but I'm trying, I'm doing what I can. And I came to Kansas City straight from college. I went to Northwest Missouri State University, and I started as an intern at the Power and Light District. So shout out to Rachel Waller for taking a chance on me. And then after I graduated, she recruited me to come back to the Power and Light District, and I was doing events and marketing there. I did wedding sales for a little bit at the gallery event space, and then I continued my work on the marketing department for the Power and Light District. And then I moved over to Visit KC, and I've been there for about 4 years now. So that's what brought me here.
So one question and then a serious question. How do you not eat what you bake?
Okay, that's a great question because I have a really big sweet tooth. After a while, after you bake so many things consistently, you kind of get sick of it. So that's what pushed me to starting to share my baked goods because one, I was kind of seeing my waistline change. And then I also needed to just, share the love a little.
Yeah. I mean, my wife, huge sweet tooth and never had one till we were married. And it's like she jokes with herself. She's like, I'm going to bake it. I'm going to go give it to the neighbors. And we've never given the neighbors cookies once. So I don't tell her like, are you sure? And then secondly, what would you say your favorite thing about your job is from a business perspective, like that moves the needle, not like, hey, I like connecting people or I love working with CEOs, but like what moves the needle for your organization that you love?
Yeah, I love working with the people and connecting. That's my ultimate favorite thing. But one of my favorite projects is KC Restaurant Week. So I lead that effort amongst many individuals on our team. And this past year, it was the most impactful for me and for our community, I believe. That event specifically, we just gave Don Bosco Center $116,000. And so that to me is what fulfills me. And I think our organization, our foundation as well.
How does a restaurant get involved in KC Restaurant Week? We have a lot of restaurant owners watching.
Yeah, great question. So we will actually be launching registration in the next few weeks. And if you are a partner of Visit KC or the Restaurant Association, registration is free. So you just simply sign up at kcrestaurantweek.com. Like I said, it's not live right now, so don't do that after this. But it will be live in the next couple weeks. Right after Labor Day is our target date. And then that will go until December 1st. So you have some wiggle room to sign up. If you aren't a partner of Visit KC, one, I hope you would contact me. And then also, if you're not a partner of the Restaurant Association, it's okay. You can still participate. It's just $200. So easy peasy.
So that people can get to you on LinkedIn as well and connect with you. But how is your organization funded?
Oh, great question. So city supports us. And then also partnerships. So that's a part of my role is selling partnerships, advertising, sponsorships. So that's really how Restaurant Week functions, is through sponsorships. And so there's a handful of ways that we're funded, but those are a couple.
Yeah, people just don't understand when they're like, hey, I really want to meet people. I really want to keep going. And you tell them like, hey, you should go to your local chamber and have them introduce you to their partners. And they're like, what? No, I don't want to network and hand out business cards. And they don't realize how valuable those resources are and how they can connect you to some of the biggest names are exactly what you're looking for if you're willing just to be patient and learn and understand Visit KC and then all the partnerships you have in the community. But are you ever just blown away that, you know, people are just so standoffish about getting involved in associations, and all they need to realize is that they spend time, they'll get to where they need to go.
Absolutely. That is the thing I love about my job most is because I'm meeting with different people and learning what their needs are, it's easier for me to understand how I can help them. And you never know what conversation I'm going to have next week and be able to fill that need for them. So it's a really awesome thing. And then we have a partnership database of over 900 people. So being able to connect those people and fulfill those needs for them has been very exciting.
Elizabeth says over here, how fun is that, Kinsey Hoyle?
It is.
Then Yoav says, go Nate. Oh, I was going to hold that
Yes.
but I got so excited. Janelle is watching on LinkedIn. Matt says, happy Tuesday, another great Drink with Leader crew. So I wanted to pull all these up as we were talking about networking. So when you're not networking with Kenzi, go over here and comment so people can start to connect with you here too. So connect with Kenzi, and then she'll introduce you to more people too. I'm going to connect with, well, we're connected, but I want to learn more about Visit KC. I think in that little space, I learned more than I've known for a long time. So super exciting. All right, so who are you? What do you do? How do you get to Kansas City?
Absolutely. First off, thank you both for having me on today. It's a pleasure. Hello, everyone that's watching from home, work, mobile device, whatever. My name's Scott Bluhm. I'm a director at Newmark Zimmer Commercial Real Estate. We're a 70-year-old third-generation firm based here in Kansas City. I've been working with the firm for about 10 years since I graduated college. So lucky for me, the only thing I know professionally is commercial real estate, which maybe isn't a bad thing. I'm giving you this beautiful view of downtown. The only person that appears to be in the office, it looks like. But I've worked with Newmark Zimmer for 10 years. I focus mainly in industrial sales and leasing. So, that's helping developers, develop spec industrial buildings, helping an individual one-off building owner lease or sell their building, or helping, a tenant or buyer find their perfect home from a commercial real estate standpoint. Something that people don't always think about because they see, signs in front of houses, but don't always notice the signs in front of commercial buildings, whether it be retail, office, or industrial. I've lived here my whole life, grew up in the Brookside area, went to Rockhurst High School, and then spent 4 years away from Kansas City in college because I figured what a better time to burn bridges and make mistakes a couple states over in Ohio. And always knew I kind of wanted to come back to Kansas City. So right after college, I started interviewing with commercial real estate brokerage firms and chose Newmark Zimmer. Grew up around a lot of the people here and has a great reputation in the community, not just from a professional standpoint, but also from a giving back standpoint. Very involved company. And so, been here my whole life, and it's all I know and love it. So just happy to be, still in business in a fully commission-based industry.
Scott, where did you learn the line that you referenced on making mistakes? That is hilarious. And then number two, from a business standpoint, we always talk about things that you traditionally aren't seeing, but kind of take us back into the market 2 years ago, what a deal looked like for you on a property, let's say, I don't know, downtown Lenexa or wherever, and then what a deal looks like today, just to educate our audience. But where did you learn that line?
So I want to take credit for that one. I actually have been saying that since I was about 21 years old, and I don't know if I've trademarked it yet or anything like that, but it's been a while since I've had the opportunity to use it as I get older and older. So it becomes less and less appropriate. Thank you. And ultimately, and this kind of goes with the Bank of Blue Valley anecdote as well. I would really, if I were going to give a lesson as far as how things have changed in our market, when I got into the industry about a decade ago, we were coming out of a recession. And so half of my first clients were banks selling distressed assets where they actually took back the loan. And one of the first cold calls I ever made to a banker was Bob Rainier. And as I was telling Aaron beforehand, probably one of the most accessible bank owners I've ever interacted with, one of the nicest guys. I cold called him. We went to lunch, and he ended up actually, you brought up Lenexa, listing a 11-acre commercial site in Lenexa, which we then sold for him, that they had for about 5 years prior to hiring me to help them with it. But so a lot has changed, not just in the last, let's just say 36 months with COVID and everything like that, but also just in the economy as a whole. I mean, we can talk about e-commerce forever if you want to, but ultimately, like I allude to, 10 years ago, buildings were, especially in the industrial side, were trading at about half the value as what they are now. Nothing's changed with those buildings. They just have, traded for higher prices on a year. Every year we're seeing record set prices as far as what they're trading for. So, back 10 years ago, I was calling on banks, and there was a lot of vacancy. There was a lot of opportunity as far as properties for sale or for lease. And now Kansas City, due to our logistical presence in the center of the country, our cost of labor and our accessibility of labor, and Kansas City, both on Kansas and the Missouri side, are both such pro-business states and communities that we're just seeing, the lowest vacancy we've ever seen, especially in industrial real estate across the market. Every quarter, we're almost setting a new record as far as new speculative delivery. What that means is some investor or institutional group is actually building a large building vacant and taking on that risk of carrying it vacant until they find a tenant. And the reason why they're doing that is because we're having about over 1 million square feet to 2.5 million square feet of positive net absorption every quarter. And actually, in this calendar year, we're looking at setting a record with, potentially 12 million square feet of new construction and, north of, 6-7 million square feet of net positive absorption, which that means that's large employers bringing new jobs, almost to the point where wages are going up significantly. Actually, our industrial team's working on an article right now to kind of discuss this. And hopefully we'll get that out in some publications as well. But it's all good stuff for the Kansas City market. And I don't want to get too long-winded, but ultimately, I focus on industrial, but represent some office users as well, not just in Kansas City, but across the country. And the different mindset towards space from an industrial standpoint, where they're just taking on more and more space, whereas a lot of these office users are getting more efficient. Single-sized offices, hoteling, where no one has permanent offices unless they're in 3 days a week minimum. and just cutting down your operational costs by maybe up to 30, 40%, which, these firms are still having really high revenue, but they're just getting more flexible and more, lenient as far as how they handle real estate. And that also is more responsible, which is great.
Lacey says she loves the record-setting net positive. Yeah. I actually just went to lunch today with Scott Lippert from Artisan Technology, and what they've done with their commercial space, to your point, has become a lot more efficient. And it's pretty awesome, especially as these companies grow, how they've been able to pivot.
Did they end up remodeling their office, Erin?
So actually what happened is 2 doors down, a mortgage company needed more space, and they wanted to go to smaller space. And so they did some deal with that.
That's awesome. But that just goes to show you there's a company that was one of the top 30 fastest growing companies in Kansas City 2 years ago, and they're about to redo their whole office. They're a great organization, Artisan Technologies. They're a friend of the show, and they are now downsizing and made money. They're about to lose a ton of money.
A lot more employees, but they went to a hybrid. And then actually the Inc. 5000 list just came out. I think it came out today. They're on the Inc. 5000 list, which is really awesome. So I saw them on there, and Scott has been on the show before. So
yeah, it's kind of like Sarah predicting the pandemic. They just have that foresight.
And Lacey's gonna hit you up. She says, "All right, Scott B."
Sounds good.
What's the talk? All right. Well, you have been.
Lacey can also sell you an airplane, so it's a great friend to have.
Awesome. All right, Nathan. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Thanks also for having me. So, Nathan Walts. So I work for MedHub, which is a subsidiary company within the Ascend Learning family of businesses, and we focus specifically on sort of this great sweet spot throughout our businesses around healthcare, education, and technology solutions, and just kind of talking about a winding path, as I'm sure we all have, in terms of how we start here and kind of come back here. That's kind of my story. So I was born in Lawrence, went to Lawrence High, went to University of Kansas, and stayed in this area to do my master's at Baker, and then started working at the finance wing at Daimler and Chrysler. And I really kind of call the first part of my career really focused on finance, and kind of starting out in the Kansas City area, and then got the opportunity to move out to the Baltimore, DC area and work there. And then heard somebody else mention the financial crisis back in 2008. And of course, that had some pretty big reverberations in terms of the finance industry and what happened in the automotive finance industry as well, in terms of regulation. And so got the opportunity to come back to Kansas City, as part of that process, and working for Ascend Learning as it kind of grew up into a global organization with home office in Boston, major office in Kansas City, Minneapolis, Phoenix, London, and really just getting the opportunity to work through a variety of businesses, starting on the nursing side, really focused on academia and digital solutions on that side, and then working in the provider network for a while, and now working within an organization that's MedHub, where we really focus on continuous improvement for these academic partners and healthcare partners as well. And so that's.
So Nathan, can you describe one of your educational partners and what you do, kind of full life cycle? It's just so impressive, the amount of work that you do from scratch to what we end up seeing. So can you kind of give like an example of kind of a little bit of soup to nuts, what you do for those partners?
Yeah. So when at least in this current role, so within Ascend, all of our businesses kind of focus on different aspects, but within what we do today, we could certainly highlight what we do on the undergraduate medical education and graduate medical education world. So UME and GME world. And really where we start out as an educational management system, where we coordinate things from a logistics perspective around things like clinical scheduling. There's a lot of complexity around that. So when you're an administrator within one of these institutions, you have to manage these aspects of things. And it's hard to believe that this used to be done in an analog way, where people sat with paper schedules and used pens and scratch out things. And now with these online platforms that we've built over the years, really being able to automate that and use some advanced analytics to help to enable these institutions. And then we do a lot of data collection as well. So whenever you're a student in a course, you go out to your clinicals, you of course have to be assessed, for performance. And so a lot of that performance data comes back through our system, and we tie it together, with all of our curriculum management tools, course tools, site management tools, compliance tools, which really has to do with being a student in one of these academic tracks, and being able to go out and do the things that you do, you have to meet a lot of rigorous criteria, and really pulling all that data together in terms of workflow for administrators, huge time saver. Bringing that data together to allow them to really focus on the continuous improvement aspects of what they do. So whereas before, again, you'd have to pull this stuff together, from all these disparate systems and file cabinets. It's all available in a platform SaaS solution with a number of different modules that really makes their lives easier. And that as they work to remain accredited, do the monthly work they have to do on a program evaluation perspective, they have everything that they need at their fingertips from an analytics perspective to make good decisions.
Yeah, nothing against the top row here, but there's a lot of people that do our jobs, and it's a very relationship oriented. And then we have the bottom row that it's something unique. And so one thing I was trying to explain to Nate, because I'm the nerd that loves breaking down, the 3.2 million people, the 71,000 companies. What Nate does is he's one of very few that's even in Kansas City that does what he does, that can really build a product soup to nuts and run a team of 100 people. So I just find it really impressive that he just made something sound really simple, but there are about 1,700 steps in there that we glossed over from paper to making it an automated system. Nate, for you, what do you get the most joy out of with the teams that you help bring up and grow? What makes you the most happy or gives you the most satisfaction as an executive leader?
Yeah, so I think there's kind of two pieces to that. One, it's really easy to get connected to the space that you're in, right? So if you're in product development, management strategy, at least for me, I'm a vision mission kind of guy. So I again, reference back to healthcare, education, technology, how these pieces connect. We're helping in a meaningful way students as they progress through their academic tracks, whether it's in nursing or degree in health sciences, or again, in the medicine space with doctors in training. It's easy to see how your solutions help to make academia work. In particular, around the last 18 months, we sort of referenced that. Digital solutions and sort of extending education to allow it to continue to happen when you have these new paradigms that happen, is extremely important. And so, you can see how we advance, academia, how we help keep students connected, how we help with continuous improvement, and how we help faculty, administrators do their roles more efficiently and help these students. And then ultimately, the downstream effect is really the patients, right? So everybody that we ultimately, help as they're going through their academic components, they go out and they start to work with patients in the professional world, and that benefits all of us, benefits our entire community, which is huge. And then the other part, from a product development standpoint, we've worked really hard. As you can imagine, as Ascend has a lot of business units, we have a lot of capabilities, and so we really just sort of scratch the surface of opportunity within these business units to look for synergistic type things that we can do within the channels. We can cross-pollinate between content and what we do on the workflow, data flow side of things. Just lots of opportunity to bring value. And so when you can make those connections within the organization that drive value out in the community, it's just easy to get up in the morning.
Love that. Jeremy says he's been lucky enough to work with you, quite a few initiatives, and you're a great guy. The thing that's really going to impress me, I really think you're impressive, but the thing that's going to impress me in the healthcare world across the board is when they finally get the whiteboards, a solution to the whiteboards that everyone in healthcare insists on using when they go into work. My partner is a cardio tech, and every day she's like, I got to go see the board. And I'm like the board on Grey's Anatomy, and they're like, the whiteboards, they're just really, really to those, like we've got rid of them in business. A lot of us have got rid of our whiteboards, but those hospitals, they really hold on to them, huh? Waiting for your solution on that, your new product on that.
Yeah, they definitely do. Yeah, you start to see a little bit of technology coming up and around that, but yeah, it's healthcare and academia actually are kind of similar in that there's a little slower absorption rate to technological solutions. So you kind of got to work your way through it in terms of the adoption curve. So
I love you, and you say it so much. You're very classy, Nate. I really like you. All right, now first of all, we've got a great panel, so I know we're going to have a lot of questions. So get your questions in there quick, because I don't know how many of them we're going to get to. I want to ask this next question, though, while you are asking your questions over here. Again, let us know if you're on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. Sarah, this past year and a half has been a lot for everybody, right? And some of us have had great years. Some of us have had tougher years. But what we really like to focus on this show is like our biggest wins. So could you tell us what your biggest win this past year and a half, these COVID times, have been?
If I'm totally honest, it's like just staying sane, to to be real. I had all 3 kids at home. My husband had to still go out every day and work. So literally juggling the virtual schooling, remote working, all of it, and just keeping my mind, my biggest win. But more, business wise, staying sane, but also still somehow being able to grow my business and to really focus on being intentional and scaling and growing and adding, team members to my company. And so that's my biggest win, is just not giving up at the days that were felt forever, still plugging away. And, here we are entering a new school year, and, it looks different, but I think this is kind of the new normal. So yeah, keeping sane.
I think surviving is a great win.
Yeah.
Remind everyone the ages of your children. 2,
4, and 7.
So the 2 and 4-year-old, that was easy, right? Yeah,
totally.
they just turned on their computer, the 2-year-old, and then you just said goodbye to him for 8 hours, right?
Really. I will say, the first couple months in the pandemic, it was okay. I mean, it was tough, but my 2-year-old was he was 1, just over 1, and he was still napping. So I'm like, okay, he's in his crib. I've got 2 hours of peace and quiet with him. Well, he learned how to climb out of the crib. So early in quarantine. So that was a real bummer, but hey, we're all still here. And so learning how to be very self-motivating and efficient when I have time to work. So.
Yeah, I hope I'm not saying anything controversial, but I feel like the millennial generation is very co-parenting, where other generations are not. And so friends that are not necessarily millennials, I just am blown away at the productivity they've had in business. And oh, by the way, 75% of what they're doing is not their business. And so I always think to myself, there's a group of people that are going to hit the establishment in the mouth post-pandemic and crush them because of just the bandwidth and things to do. And I was really lucky that the Business Journal wrote an article about my only superpower was working with working moms. And I'm just impressed with, I'm like, my partner's crushing it, but I'm like, 75% of what she does isn't work. And so it's just crazy and mind blowing that you did virtual school with your 2 younger ones. And so I think that's a great accomplishment.
Thank you.
Scott and I actually have this conversation a lot because he's got little ones like you. I was stuck at home with teenagers, right? So they could go to 8 hours, but there was a lot of attitude every hour in between. So I imagine one day we'll both look back at this and be like, only remember all the good time we had with them, all the extra time, right? We'll romanticize it.
For sure.
All right, Kenzi, you've got yourself on mute, so make sure you unmute yourself before you answer this. What has been your biggest win this past year?
Yeah, I kind of talked about it a little bit before this, but I'm really proud of KC Restaurant Week this past year. Our team, we all came together. We're a smaller team this past year, and I feel we did a really great job supporting our local restaurants in a time that they needed it most, and hosting a very successful event that raised a ton of money for a local nonprofit that needed the funds more than ever. So I'm really proud of that. And as we were talking a little earlier, I'm proud of not eating all of my baked goods and actually hosting bake sales to raise money for nonprofits. So I'd say those were some of my wins this past year.
I have a Restaurant Week question.
Yeah.
From your expert advice, how do you actually what is the best way to go about getting one of the reservations at Fogo de Chao during Restaurant Week?
That's a great question.
A very specific question.
It always fills up like day one, and I don't know how people get them. Then I see it on their Instagram stories. I'm like, I need to know these things, Kenzi.
Yeah. Okay. So Restaurant Week 2022 will be January. Oh, shoot. I just went blank.
Oh, it's an exclusive. You have to tell us.
Okay, 1 second. I just went blank.
Maybe that was a cliffhanger to the audience for everyone to go.
Everyone get on your
LinkedIn
toes.
profile.
We are announcing. No, it's the 14th through the 23rd.
14th. So you just make reservations now?
14th through the 23rd. So if the restaurants are accepting reservations, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to. Obviously, you don't know who's participating, but you do know that there are some repeat offenders. So if Fogo de Chao is one that you're looking for,
I'm going to call him right after.
Is it
I'm not
breaking news
saying
that you told everyone it was the 14th?
It's breaking news.
Is it
First time
breaking
you've
news?
announced it, right?
Yeah, well, we don't care if you've already announced it. We're saying you announced it here.
Okay.
We don't care about
here first, folks.
Two questions, both very important. One, where does your drive come from? I mean, you're working with a lot of people. That is a lot of everyone on the show, I think, that has been very successful here understands the amount of work that you've done to get to where you're doing. And number two is Olive Garden and Restaurant Week.
Do you want those free breadsticks? Is that what it is?
It's a serious question.
Okay, so the first question, where do I get my drive? I have a great support group. First of all, Visit KC's team is incredible. I don't do anything alone. They support me and our organization wholeheartedly. Grateful for them. And then personally, I have a great support group as well. But I also really enjoy, re-energizing by giving back to myself. And that typically comes in the form of going on a run by myself, or I've been really enjoying Freight House Fitness. I just joined as a member like 3 months ago, and I'm addicted. It's a 30-minute workout, quick, you're in, you're out. And if everyone on this call knows, I don't have an hour or 2 hours to work out at the gym. So it is perfect medicine for me. And then Olive Garden. So
don't answer it.
I don't
Remember
know.
I was talking about the jokes he makes all the time every week on the show?
Okay, so let's be honest. Olive Garden is great. I love Olive Garden. I do.
Yeah, you tell them to stop. They just keep bringing it. All right, Erin wants to get off this subject because I'm trying to make her laugh. Not working.
I'm also threatening my kids with my eyes because this is the first day they came home in the middle of a show, right? Because they read the bus now. And they're like, they just don't know how to close doors quietly. And they just let the dogs in. So if you see me making weird faces, it's not at the Olive Garden. It's just at my teenagers. That
I'm
don't
assuming Kenzi was on mute because her pup was walking in and out. I heard the little jingle.
All right, Scott, what has been your biggest win this year?
And I'm dealing with the same thing as you. I'm in the office and we've got 65 employees here, and I'm in our biggest conference room, and people just keep on walking by and making hand gestures, and I'm just like this with my eyes the whole time. And I put a chair in front of the door so no one can walk in. I feel like I'm in high school keeping my parents out of the bedroom and I'm up past curfew. But so personally, and Scott's heard about this probably way too much, but I was lucky enough to meet my fiance right before COVID and the pandemic and lockdown. We were actually one of the first flights out of Denver airport before they shut down the airport. And we successfully merged 3 dogs into a household during the pandemic. And there are 2 miniature poodles, which obviously were not mine, and then a black lab. And they are best friends. And I got engaged and get married in just now 29 days. So I'm just under a month. So that was probably my best personal success, and that helped me grow up a lot, which I needed. Sometimes your hand's kind of forced when you have a 5-year relationship and 18 months together in COVID. So that was great. And, sadly, from a professional standpoint, since we are a commission-based job, it's a little vain, but, I think Scott mentioned this on the show last week when I was in the chat. Our firm had one of our best years last year. We are on pace to have a record year this year, and every year for me has continued to be the best year over year. And that just shows, hopefully that I'm doing the right things professionally, but also showing just the strength of, our market and the businesses that are here. I mean, them needing to take on more space, lease more space, buy more buildings, whatever it may be. It's not just a representation of my success, but our firm's success, our team's success, and also Kansas City as a whole. And I think people, tend to focus on the negative, but I think people need to, if, for example, there's an entity called KCADC, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. And I think if you ask them the successes that Kansas City's had, even in the last 24 months, I think people would be flabbergasted. And ultimately, that's just a great thing for all of us. It gives us all more opportunity. So March
and April, though, 2020, you didn't think it was going to be your best year, did you? Be honest.
You know what? I am fortunate enough to be mainly an industrial broker and not a retail or office guy mainly. So, most all of our clients were considered, essential workers. And, I was probably at home for 2 months and then hybrid at that point because, our clients want to get out there and look at space. I mean, this is so cliche, but it's a tangible asset. I mean, people need to see it. They need to touch it. They need to inspect it. And, they're not going to not go out there and look at opportunities if they need it and if it's going to hamstring them from growing their business. So we were fortunate enough to just be so freaking busy during quarantine. And our whole motto within our industrial team, which our team is awesome, is market share. I mean, while everyone else is, their national parent companies saying work from home for the next 4 or 5 months, and don't get me wrong, we were being cautious and respectful to, COVID protocols and everything like that. But we were just out there trying to create more market share and not take our foot off the brakes. So, we were lucky to have a record year, and we'll have a record year this year. And that's just not specific to our firm. That's for the market as a whole. So,
Scott, earlier you mentioned Bank of Blue Valley and you mentioned a cold call, but then someone caught it. You didn't do a deal with them for 5 years. So you're losing thousands of dollars with them every year. And I think what people don't realize is that, in your business, timing's everything. So you had laid the groundwork of a decade to be in position when someone needed something that they went to you and they trusted you to help them. I think a lot of times people just don't realize that it takes years and sometimes decades to stay in touch for things to occur. And then there's a lot of heartbreak when things do occur. And then you're not the person they call and you're like, man, what are you doing? That's what I do for a living. And so the success, there's a lot of pain, but congratulations on all the hard work. What would you tell someone that's watching that wants to be in a business like Sarah's or run their own company like Aaron, or someone like yourself that's having 3 record-breaking years? How do you keep yourself level-headed when there's so much kind of bad news in the commission world?
Sure. I mean, you're going to hate this analogy, but you got to be a goldfish. Goldfishes are known for having the shortest memory. And if you're, making cold calls and I want to get one thing straight, we are salespeople, but we really consider ourselves consultants. I mean, we're not trying to sell anything but ourselves to an individual or company to be their advisor and consult them on their real estate needs. So I would just say you have to have a super short memory. Typically, people in our industry, it's like a 30% retention rate for people that get in at a young age, just because it's not something that's typically measured by intelligence. It's intangible. Do you have empathy for people? Can you relate to them and understand their business and look through the lens of their perspective and understand how to help them with their decisions? So there isn't really a formula. Obviously, hard work always helps, but having a tough shell, having a short memory, but at the same time having enough, long enough memory to relate to your clients, sympathize, understand them, maybe get involved with their personal life, not to an uncomfortable amount, but just show that you're not just in it for a transaction and then you disappear. So my biggest thing is in my 10-year career, I had one time where a client fired me. And then 3 months later, they hired me back because they realized that, I cared about their business and I wanted them to succeed, because if I help someone buy an asset that isn't overextending their company financially, I'm never going to be able to transact with them again if they go out of business. So sometimes it's, even though I'm a commission-based person, sometimes it's saying this isn't the right decision for you right now. And I won't make any money by telling you to do this. But, in 6 months from now, a year from now, you're going to be in a better position. You're going to make a smarter decision. You're going to be successful because of it. And you're going to appreciate, your advisor not, forcing you into a situation where you overextend yourself. So that's my long-winded answer.
Scott, you are the king of one-liners. Be a goldfish, burning bridges, making mistakes. I think you should write
I don't know if that's a good thing, though, is it? I mean,
I like it. I think
Scott, I'm not trying to toot your own horn. You're doing good.
You're doing amazing. People have made whole careers off of that. So, no, I like it. People keep quoting you over here in the comments. So, all right, Nathan, what has been your biggest win in this past year and a half?
Yeah, I think of it sort of as like 2 wins that are really interconnected. I think the big one is, we kind of talked about it. Like the environment has changed significantly in the last, 18 months, right? Some of it's probably not going back to the way it was. But when I think about the impact and all the stories and all the news and all the experiences we've all had with the impact to patients and in the healthcare world and impact to students, and we think about all these professionals, nurses, health sciences folks, doctors, they've been under such tremendous strain for really a very long period of time, focused in on, in some cases, just sort of overwhelming odds in terms of what they have to do day in and day out. And you think about things like, just trying to treat COVID patients. The cascading effect, of course, is that if I can't treat any other patients, then what we're really having is we're having a lot of other patients at risk from other things that we know are preventable, right? And so the lifeblood of our healthcare environment is really our workforce, right? And we know they've come under tremendous strain, even before the last 18 months. Just the amount of hours they work, the kind of stress, the pressure of that environment is huge. And so when I look at us as part of this ecosystem, and we're just an aspect of the ecosystem, but we think about that pipeline of people that are so important, to trying to alleviate some of that stress, whether that's just pure supply and demand of individuals working in healthcare, whether it's people retiring and needing new people to come in and fill these jobs. There's just a kind of stress and strain that we haven't seen in this space, and it's only compounding. And so the fact that we were able to be part of a lot of solutions that people implemented, to help keep that pipeline of students, resident doctors, people working through their academic track to become professionals is so important, because if we were to come out tomorrow, a year from now, 2 years from now, with fewer healthcare workers, I don't think anybody, thinks that would be palatable. That would be something sustainable. We actually have to create more, a lot more. And so, we're part of that process. So I think that's the big win from my point of view, just in terms of overall objectives and goals, when we connect it down the people front. And then you sort of layer in the business part, right? So in order to be part of this ecosystem, we have to have our own employees, who are, part of this, who sustain these platforms and these products, right? Whether that's our people, the front line answering support calls, whether it's implementers, whether it's people just having conversations with customers. We've had to operate across a very large geography, and not just a geography in the United States. We have people working in Boston, Kansas City, Michigan, Minnesota, some of our development teams over in India. So when you go from a place where, you've got kind of a core set of offices to really a fully distributed system, you're talking about trying to keep everybody on the same mission, vision, working the same priorities, believing in what you're doing, seeing the results of what you're doing, and you're doing it from every household that's part of your 100-person organization, 100 plus really, when you include our development teams. And so there's just been a lot of change. We've had to do a lot of change inside to our structures and process to support all this, knowing that the end result is more students being taught and more students graduating, going in and helping patients. And so when you really think about those two pieces coming together, that's just a monumental effort when you think about trying to do that, not in the same office. That's a big deal.
Where does your patience come from? I mean, you have to run a lot of different things. You can just tell you have a lot of patience. Where does that come from?
4 kids. So I got 4 kids. So,
great answer.
Yeah, no, I think that's part of it. Family part's an important part of it for me. How you learn to prioritize, and also what was referenced earlier around virtual school versus non-virtual school, hybrid. All these things, they play into it. And so if you're developing kids from, I got a 14-month-old all the way to a 14-year-old, and today we sent 2 of them, the first one in middle school, their first year of middle school, and the oldest to their first year of high school, right? So these are major milestone moments, So, you're managing a household, as everybody can relate on this call, to your kids and their milestones on top of, all the professional things that you do. So I think there is a part of that, there's a part of it. So. And
one child maybe started sleeping.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
And one child maybe started sleeping.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, we're fortunate with all of them. They've been very good sleepers. So we'll take that as a win. Otherwise, the last 18 months would have been even more difficult. So.
How classy is Nate? Here we were like debating if the teenagers are the worst or the little ones are the worst, and he's got them all. He's got all of them.
Patience is a good question.
question.
It was a good question. You know, I think the more kids you have, the more patient it does make you as a business owner. There is a woman, look her up, named Angie Gunyon. She owns a asbestos company in Kansas City. I'm not going to say the name because I don't remember the whole name, but she is the president of the Hispanic Chamber Board. She has 10 children. I have never met somebody that can get more done. And again, I said she's the president of the Hispanic Chamber Board because she knows how to do that. Exactly what Dave was saying. She knows how to
partner with working moms.
All of it. 10. 4 is a lot, Nate, though. 4 is a whole lot. All right. So you guys left just 5 minutes, which is just enough for Scott's favorite part of the show. I'm going to throw this up there real quick. Toby says it's a fantastic show now that we've already brought up the Olive Garden plug, right? So if anybody wants to go there. So we don't need to bring up the Olive Garden anymore, but it's Scott's favorite part of the show. He gets to ask his favorite icebreaker question of the day. So go ahead, Scott. Everyone's got 60 seconds to answer.
So Sarah, 2 random curveballs. What was the first concert you ever went to? And if you're ordering takeout, not pizza, what are you ordering? Where are you ordering? What are you ordering? So first concert, and then what is the menu item and where are you ordering it from?
Okay, so I'm totally a millennial. My first concert was NSYNC and like at the height of the NSYNC phase 2, which is fun. And takeout, if it's just me with like no kids and husband, 100% Thai food. I always get pad Thai with chicken. That's like my go-to. So
where do you get it from?
I get it from Mali Thai and Lee Summit. So with little kids, I don't venture out much. So that's one of my bucket list items is to go check out Restaurant Week and find some new restaurants and kind of venture outside of my like 5-mile radius I typically stay in. But yeah, for sure, Chinese or Thai takeout.
Sir, you're not busy at all, so it's fine. You don't, you probably have all the time in the world for, just get ready and then go 3 hours Restaurant Week and then just go home.
60 seconds a person, Scott.
And then, by the way, funny joke, when you said it's just me, I thought you said it's going to be me, referencing an NSYNC song. Kenzi, first concert, and where are you ordering?
My first concert, I think it was Shania Twain. And takeout food. I was trying to go through all of my, where am I going to go? I have so many like ranging cravings every day. I have different needs. But right now I am a sucker for the pear salad at the Russell. So I would say I'm going to go to the Russell.
Scott, first concert, where are you ordering and what are you ordering?
So I think my first concert was like Snoop Dogg in 311 in Bonner Springs, whatever it's called now. I forget. I don't think I was supposed to be in that concert, by the way, but it was fun nonetheless. And looking back, it was worth the risk. And then I would say my fiance and I like to get Mr. Euros like once a week when we're not doing HelloFresh or cooking together. We do Mr. Euros, and I most commonly get a Euro with some hummus.
All right, Nate, what was first concert and what are you feeling when you're doing takeout?
I got extremely lucky. So my mom had tickets when I was a little kid with a friend to go see Bruce Springsteen, and her friend bailed, and I got the call up to go to hear Bruce Springsteen when I was in elementary school, which was pretty awesome. And then in terms of heard it echoed here, Thai food. So yeah, I'm a Thai food fan, and I like Penang curry. We got a pad Thai restaurant that's actually won a whole bunch of awards up here in Leawood, off 143rd and Mission. Actually, I think it's called Pad Thai. Actually, is the name of it. But.
Aaron, what about yourself? First concert, and what are you and Janae ordering for takeout?
My first concert, I think, was Tiffany at a mall. That's how old I am. You guys are like, who is that? Let me Google that real quick. And then, you know what? I order takeout when I'm down at our office, and I really like Cluster Truck. I don't know if you guys have had them before, but I really like them. How about you, Scott? Then I'm going to pull up a couple people. You say yours real quick.
Tom Petty, I actually saw him 3 different times. Hung out with some stoners when I was 14, 15. And then to go, I always try to get Singapore noodles at whatever restaurant I'm closest to. There's a place called China King, 1 minute from where I live. So generic name, but good spot.
I just want to point out that Yoav, former guest, knows my Tiffany songs. Okay. Jared says Leonard Skinner. He's also down with the Thai food. And then Delvon just joined us. Delvon's going to go back and watch the rest. But follow Delvon. He owns High Impact Sports Massage. He has landed almost every Chiefs player, and he's got these really fun. He does athlete massages. He has a really fun kind of group of people to watch. And first concert was Usher and Kanye West. Journey and Escape. Oh, they're coming in hot. Okay, you can go check all the messages. We're right at time. Thank you so much to our panel for joining us. Please go connect with our panel. They are all so amazing. Thank you to Bacon Blue Valley for sponsoring, and we will see you same time, same place next week. See you next week, Scott.